subject matter jurisdiction. It is not the big, scary, confusing topic that your big bar exam companies make it out to be. Welcome to Bar and Chill. My name is Michael, and today we're talking subject matter jurisdiction, and like always, with the goal of keeping it real simple. So, subject matter jurisdiction. The ultimate question is basically, can this case get into federal court? State courts have what's called general subject matter jurisdiction, meaning they can hear almost any type of case. However, to make it into federal court, only certain types of cases can make it in. So subject matter jurisdiction is the rules on how a case can make it to federal court. And there's two ways: diversity and federal question. For diversity, there are two elements. The plaintiff and defendant need to reside in different states, and the amount in controversy must be greater than $75,000. For the first element, complete diversity, if there's multiple parties, all plaintiffs must be completely diverse from all defendants at the time of complaint, not when the cause of action arose. For the rules on where a party resides, just look to the domicile rules from personal jurisdiction that we discussed in the first video. For the second element, amount in controversy, we look to the amount alleged in the complaint. Now, as a quick, easy rule to remember, if you have a single plaintiff versus a single defendant, that plaintiff can aggregate all of the plaintiff's claims against the defendant to meet that $75,000 requirement. So as an easy example, if the plaintiff brings 3 state law causes of action that are all completely unrelated against a single defendant, and let's say, for example, each cause of action is worth $30,000, the plaintiff can actually aggregate all those claims to reach $90,000 and reach the second element of diversity. If in my example, the plaintiff and defendant reside in different states, then that case can make it to federal court. The second way in which a case can make it into federal court is federal question. And that's when the plaintiff is suing the defendant under federal law. The well-pleaded complaint rule states that it is not enough if the plaintiff raises a potential defense or a potential issue under federal law. The complaint itself must be seeking a right under federal law. Now, if the plaintiff is suing the defendant under state law, but there's a substantive issue that requires a federal interpretation, then that case might still be able to make it into federal court. An example of a state law claim that would rely on federal law could be a legal malpractice lawsuit against an attorney who committed or completely butchered a federal patent law case. To determine whether the attorney/defendant committed legal malpractice, it may require an interpretation of federal patent law. The idea is, if you ever see a state law claim and it says that one of the elements to prove the claim requires an interpretation of federal law, then that might get you into federal court. All right, so that's the two ways in which a case can make it into federal court: diversity and federal question. Now, the next section is an area that I was easily tripped up on when I was doing practice questions and practice essays, and that's supplemental jurisdiction. This is where we want to add a claim or a party even if they independently would lack subject matter jurisdiction. Now, there's two elements, and that's you need to have an underlying case that already established subject matter jurisdiction, and the new claim or the new party arises from the same case or controversy. The threshold test for same case or controversy is common nucleus of operative facts. And we have to memorize it that way because that might appear on one of the answer choices on a multiple choice question, And so it's important to know what that answer choice is talking about. Common nucleus of operative facts might look like similar evidence and witnesses to support the new claim with the underlying claim, and any sort of logical relationship between the underlying claim and new claim. Two quick, easy examples. If we made it to federal court by federal question and plaintiff wants to add a state law claim to the case, the plaintiff can do so, as long as the state law claim arises from the same case or controversy as the underlying federal question claim. If we're in diversity and the plaintiff wants to add a defendant, the plaintiff can add the defendant even if the claim against the new defendant is a state law claim under $75,000, as long as that new claim arises from the same case or controversy and that new defendant does not destroy diversity. Now, for supplemental jurisdiction, there is a narrow exception, and you'll see on my study guide, I have the word exception in all caps and highlighted because as a general rule of thumb with the bar exam, wherever you see exceptions to general rules, it is ripe for testing. The bar exam loves to test exceptions. So it's very important that whenever you have an exception, you make sure you have the elements very clearly stated so that you can easily see if an exception applies or if it doesn't. And for supplemental jurisdiction, the exception is very narrow, but it is a hot topic tested on the bar exam. So there's three elements to the exception for supplemental jurisdiction, and that's the underlying subject matter jurisdiction of the case is diversity. A new party was added via PCII, that is an acronym, and it stands for permissive joinder, compulsive joiner, intervention, and impleter. PCII is the topic for the next video, so don't panic. Those areas of civil procedure are actually really easy, and we're going to address that in the next video. And the third element is that the plaintiff asserts a claim against a newly added party via PCII that would ruin diversity. For this exception to see it play out in an example, I'm actually going to discuss examples of this at length in the next video addressing PCII. So that's supplemental jurisdiction. Please leave me a comment if you have any questions or send me an email and I'll happily answer your questions. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.